Hey guys, welcome back to Sweat Equity. This video is the start of a series of me swapping my 99 BMW 323 IS E36 from an automatic to a manual transmission. The swap is complete and running well. I also felt that this was a good time to perform other needed maintenance to the car while things were apart. I hope you enjoyed the video series, and please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified of my next video in the series. Alright, first thing we're going to do is remove the two exhaust pipes from the exhaust manifolds. There are there should be three studs on each manifold that has a nut over it. I've had these off in the past 2 years or so, so I've already been down the road of, I think I broke at least 3 or 4 of them and had to like drill them out and just, it was kind of a nightmare. So do yourself a favor, get yourself a torch and heat each one of these up as much as you can to where they're just glowing red, and then take the nuts off, preferably with an impact to just break the rust loose. That's going to be your best bet to get these off without having to pull the manifolds off up on the head and everything else. So I'm going to go ahead and get these off, and hopefully we'll be fine. Alright, so I got them all unbolted. I do still have this cross brace right here. It's hard for you to see, but this bar right here is still in there, so it's kind of holding it up. The exhaust is pretty heavy, so I'm just going to leave it here for right now, and I'm going to put like a jack stand or something under the pipes when I eventually pull it out. So now what I'm going to do is disconnect the O2 sensors. I'm not going to take them out of the exhaust. I'm going to leave them in the exhaust, but I'm going to remove this piece of conduit. Right here, there's a few fasteners that you can see holding it, and the two connectors, there's one right here and one right here. So I'm going to disconnect those so that whole section can just be dropped down as a unit and nothing attached to the car, and then we'll work our way further back. All right, I've got it supported right there, and I'm going to, and also it's disconnected. So now we just have to remove these hangers right here. I've got it pushing up a little bit, take some of the weight off of it. Okay, so we're off there. I actually got a leak right there. I need to, I guess, fix that. I may do something with the exhaust, I'm not sure. All right, so it's disconnected all the way up to the front. It's just resting on the cross brace up there. At this point, I think it's just all the way at the very back that we have to remove. Back here, there are bolts. I'm just going to take the whole bracket off that holds this side, because I think trying to take this off is going to be a lost cause to try to save it. And I know I've taken those out before. And then the same thing right there. They look like 13 millimeters. So I'm going to take them off. I'm going to go ahead and bring the jack, either that jack or another jack, and put it under the muffler right here to support that, because these original, this is the original exhaust system. Well, I'm pretty sure it is. I see some writing on it right there. And these are heavy. Still got that baffle in there, which right now is wide open. I don't know if it's supposed to be that way when it's off. I guess it would be, because there's no vacuum on it. Anyway, all right, everything is disconnected. I'm now going to go ahead and remove that front cross brace, and I'm going to slowly lower the exhaust all the way down. I'm going to put the bolts back in the hole for them. All right, I think we should now be able to just lower this down. Okay, and there is actually a little vacuum line right here for that valve that you can just twist and pull it off. As far as that wants to go there, try. Must have forgot something. Nope, there it is. So it's not slipping off of the exhaust studs, the two that are left. So I'm just gonna lift it back up so it's not quite as much of a stress on the. So they just haven't slipped off of the manifold flanges yet, I guess. So I kind of lifted it back up a little bit and see if we can just get this to slip off of here. Can't find my, there we go. Longer pry bar. Alright, I think we're off of it. Pretty sure. Okay, now we're off of it. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is remove this heat shield right here that goes, I think it's, yeah, I think it's one piece, but it's held in with 10mm bolts, or screws, I guess, and it's really just kind of disintegrating. This side's already out, that one's through. So I guess we'll have to see if we're going to keep this one or replace it. Looks like I put larger washers on last time to try to hold it up. I guess for the most part it did pretty good. Alright, so now the only thing holding it is these two rubber exhaust hangers. So I'm just going to pop them off. And then you just got to slip it over the metal bracket, the metal hanger bracket, I should say. And there it is. Now we have access to the drive shaft. Alright guys, next step is going to be, I'm going to remove the drive shaft bolts from the rear differential. They are 16. Right now I have the transmission in park so that you can just let the parking pawl assist you. Remove those. And then if you roll the key forward one click, you can put it into neutral without having to like put your foot on the brake or any of that kind of stuff. and we can rotate it around to get to the other two. All right, we're in neutral, and turn it to get the other two. I'll go put it back in the park. And you could do other things. You could hold it with a pry bar or something like that, but I'm just gonna do this. They're not very tight, like being rusted in place or anything, so you're not putting a whole lot of stress. I'm gonna just those two, and then we'll work our way up to the next one. All right, now we're going to remove the bolts in this cross member right here to get that out of the way. They are 13 millimeter, and they are not coming out with that. Okay, so they actually make it so you have to take these little hanger things off to access the bolts that are right up under here, but at least they're all the same size. And there it is. Remember, it's going to be a while before you put this thing back together. I mean, even if you're doing it all in like a 3-day stretch or something like that, you want to try to leave yourself as many breadcrumbs as you can to go back together. For me, it's going to be, you know, because I'm only working on this like an hour at a time in the evening, maybe a little bit on, you know, days off, stuff like that. So put your hardware in a bag, tape it to the part. In this case, that's what, you know, there was like 6 bolts and the 2 little hangers. And then if any other place where you can just easily put like the bolt back in the hole that it, you know, it came from, then that's just one less thing you have to try to remember. And I'm just going to go ahead and put this back here somewhere out of the way. All right, so now I'm going to take out the 18 millimeter bolts that are right here in the flex disc, and you're going to have to hold one side and break it loose on the other side. You can probably just leave it in neutral for this step because you're going to be holding the other side with a wrench, so you don't have to worry about it like turning. I'm going to do that, and then you come over here to the center support bearing, which has 2 13s in it. I'll do this last, and I'll just kind of hold the drive shaft up with this, you know, like I'll pry both ends of the drive shaft loose from their, you know, ends, and I'll do this last and just kind of lower it all down together. It's not too heavy. Got the drive shaft out, and I just put it here next to the other one. So the longer one is the manual one, shorter one is the automatic one. They let's see, I'm pretty positive they're the same from the back half, from the rear differential to the middle. It looks like they are. So the only difference is the front part. So since I had just changed the center support bearing on my original drive shaft, I'm probably going to go ahead and reuse this part and then just swap over the front. I'll worry about doing that later, but it's just this like a large nut collar thing that you have to loosen, and then you can slide it out, from what I remember, at least in theory. I don't remember it being anything too difficult. The bearing, as with any bearing, so this is, I'm gonna back up so you can see the whole thing a little bit better, but this one, it's noisy. I mean, that may not generate a whole lot of noise in the car yet, but the fact that it just spins really loosely too. And then this is the new one, which is silent, and it also has like a little bit of resistance. Can you even see that? See, like, that's just the grease that's still in the bearings. Or like this one, if I held it up like that, Well, you have to take my word for it. This one is definitely bad. They're not that expensive, but it's probably easier just to swap the two, because I have to take them off anyway. You know, might as well just reuse the original drive shaft to the car. So now what I'm going to do is support the transmission with a jack and probably just a wood block, just to be, you know, a little bit more protective, even though I'm just pretty much going to throw this transmission out. I'm going to put the block under the front part of like the rear pan, like the main pan, and that should have it relatively balanced, so when it comes down it's gonna fall. I know that. At least we can make it a controlled fall. That'll kind of balance it the best we can. I have to take down this, we gotta take this cross brace off now that it's supported. But this heat shield right here is actually covering half of that. So I'm gonna take that off. Come on now, get on there. Oh man. Why are you not cooperating? Maybe we just bend it. We're just gonna bend it. It's just a heat shield. It has like these like sheet metal nuts that I guess half of it is rotted away. I'm sure I could get it off if I had to, but since we can just do this, I'm just gonna do it this way. Brand new trans mounts. I'll try to reuse them. I think those are the same. I'm pretty sure that we can. It might be a different cross brace that we use, but I know that it mounts further up forward. The bolts are already in the car for that, or the holes I mean. At least for right now, I think I can just unbolt these 13s and at least it'll be free. I'll just leave the mounts in for right now, and once it's out of the car I can swap that over. Actually, I guess I'll just take it all the way off, because for one thing I want to put these bolts back up in the holes so I don't lose them. And also, I just remembered that to take these off, it's really easy. You just need to loosen the, I'll show you, but you just need to loosen it. So I need a 13 wrench. Can't find my 13 wrench. I'm barely even tight. But that was me, so. Yeah, so if you just loosen these guys, just loosen it, and yeah, you can just slide it right out. Leave it all in there. Alright, so now theoretically we can lower the trans down a little bit to at least make it somewhat easier to access. And I did run, I tried to say this before, but this is just soaked in oil. I ran like a self-tapping screw to kind of hold this side back. And of course it's the Torx, so I gotta find what that is. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and try to wrestle that out of there, and then we'll come back. Alright, I got at least 80% of that out, probably more. It makes a mess, but you just can't work with it in there. You can't even get to the bolts. It's just an absolute nightmare. So you're gonna make yourself a huge mess, because the stuff is just disintegrating as you touch it, as you look at it. And I had a nice little nest of some sort up above mine on the one side. There's a whole bunch of leaves and stuff mixed in there. And I look just as bad as the floor, just so we're clear. So I'm gonna just pull as many of the tools out as I can and just blow all this mess out, and we'll regroup from there. Okay guys, I've been doing some stuff that I have not been recording. What I have done is I took the cowl off up here, which allows me to rock the engine back basically as far as I can. As you can see, it's back pretty far because the fan is sticking up quite a bit. I took the torque converter bolts out. I have broken loose the top bolts on the transmission. I've drained the fluid from the transmission. I have pulled out the automatic shifter and the little like boot thing, and I stuck in the boot for the gear shift, the manual gear shift. Took all this BS out. This is such a pain in the ass. Most of my tabs were broken anyway. I think I only had like this screw and then like the two up here actually holding this thing in from the first time I tried to take this thing out and messed it all up. When you take the shifter out, there's the 3 bolts, 3 screws, no, 2 there, 1 there. There's this cable that is like the interlock for the key. If you unhook it from the shifter, you can just leave it like that. Just tuck it away, it'll be fine. If you try to remove it, you won't be able to take the key out of the ignition because it looks for the gear shifter to be in park. But if you just leave it like that, it works fine. Haven't gotten to looking up how to wire the reverse lights and the clutch kill. Like the clutch pedal has to be in to start those. Well, I know that's like the 2 electrical modifications that you need on this. So at this point, I gotta get up under here. So there's the greasy transmission. So I've got clear access all the way to all the bolts up top. I removed the shifter. Yeah, the shifter cable is just gone completely. Fluid's drained. So really it's just a matter of unbolting the trans and just dropping it out. The torque converter bolts are out. I'm going to try to just balance it on this jack the best I can. I'm going to put another jack in front to hold the engine up at this exact position. Like I'm just going to get one under the front so that when I pull the trans away, the engine's going to want to just roll back forward, which probably isn't that big of a deal, but I'm going to try to control it so that it doesn't just flop out. You know what I'm saying? So I think now I'm going to go ahead and put that jack under the front. There's actually a 10mm bolt that goes this way into the like little spacer between the engine and transmission that I did not see when I was taking the manual off of the other car, and I mangled it all up. I kept fighting this thing to get it out, and I realized, oh, there's a bolt in the front side, but it is 10mm. It's right next to the exhaust flange. I'm sorry I don't have you up here, but take that out first. It's really easy to miss. Once it gets to the point where you started bending up the metal spacer, it gets to the point where you can't get a socket or a wrench over this bolt. That's what happened with the other ones. I'm just having to kind of like pry the metal around it. But you can use the automatic spacer with the manual transmission. You just can't go the other way. So I can just use this one. There it goes. I'm going to try and do the starter bolts first. They're 12mm. They're all E-Torques or inverted torques. You have 10, 12, and 14. The 12s are for the starter. These have already been broken loose with a breaker bar, so I'm going to see if I can get lucky and just zip them out with this. Oh, that one came out. And right now I'm trying to see if I can just kind of like unbolt the starter and just kind of leave it up in there and not have to like physically take it out where I would be removing the intake manifold or anything. Those two are out. Or they're just sitting up there right now. Now this is the 10s, which I think are all around the bottom. So I probably need to go over on that side. Make sure you get the socket pushed all the way on before you start trying to turn it. I still have to remove the oil cooler, the transmission cooler removed. I forgot about that. I was thinking I was all ready to come out. This is where the line goes into the cooler itself up front. Looks like a 13. The creeper works sometimes, not all the time. Maybe you can see that. Oh, is that not 13? No, it is. Now, I don't really care about saving these lines because I'm not reusing them, obviously, but I thought we'd at least try to... What the hell? There you go. There you go. Yeah. You can see, I mean, there's color in it. It's not completely bad. I did change this fluid at one point, and it hasn't been driven that many miles since I did it. There's definitely a lot of oil leaks that need to be addressed on this engine, though. All right, that's off. There's another 10 on this little bracket right here, which is directly above the sway bar. So that's great engineering there. Oh yeah, I put my arm right in that. Come on. I'm trying to use this wobble extension here. Got it. I got them all unbolted from the brackets. I might just be able to pull them right out with the transmission. I'm not sure. There's another little bracket right on the side of the engine oil pan. I think that's it. Like right there. Just doesn't want to cooperate. Aha, here we go. A 1-inch extension. Just happens to be. But I lost my socket. Oh, there it is. Uh-oh. I hit you. I have all these extra bolts laying around. I don't know what they're for. I'm not going to be reusing them. Alright, that's free. And it's probably going to be a lot easier if I just try to unbolt it right from the side of the transmission. What do we got? There's one here, which bolts one right there. Yeah, it's definitely an 18. I don't have an 18 wrench for some reason. Man, they really put that one in a bad spot. The only thing I have is an adjustable wrench. So to run them off, which so far it's been doing pretty good actually. Things I need it for, because everything is 18 obviously. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna get those. I may just have to cut them, because that's gonna make this thing really annoying to bring down, as if these things are still attached. I can't see anything. Get my arm stuck up in there. Yeah, no, this ain't happening with this. Okay guys, at this point I just decided to cut the transmission cooler lines out. I didn't have a wrench at the house that would fit on it, so I just decided, since that, you know, this transmission has 240,000 miles on it and it's an old 4-speed, no one's really going to want this, that I would just cut the lines and just make it easier to remove it. Again, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell.
put a comment down below. Whatever you feel like, it really helps out the YouTube algorithms. And I'm gonna have more installments of the E36 manual swap coming up. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.